Andy, your commitment to this podcast is unmatched. Unmatched, Andy. You are heading to the airport. Oh my gosh. How are you this fine Monday morning, Andy?
Dave, I'm freezing cold, man. It is ridiculously cold to walk out of the house, the 4 o'clock hour. It is dark, it is cold, but I'm in my vehicle. I'm talking to you. We're back on the podcast. It's been a week, so happy post Thanksgiving to you and to those that are joining us. We're in December, man. Happy December.
It is December. It is cold here as well, and it's going to be dreary and such. That's how Charlotte is. We don't get much snow necessarily. Um, we get a lot of the cold, dreary. I don't want to call it sleetish, but it's here we go. Winter is here, Andy, I guess. So
The only thing I like about winter being here is we're one step closer to spring.
that there you go. There you go. That's one way to look at it for sure. So as my dogs are wrestling on the couch, you're in a car and my dogs are wrestling next to me on the couch. So
Perfect.
all right, Andy, let's jump into some things here today. How was your Thanksgiving?
Dave, it was great. We had family over, we had friends over, we had a great time to give thanks, to celebrate our blessings. But I'll tell you the biggest hit was I purchased a home bartending machine, and it was pretty popular, Dave. It was quite the sight. Everybody sort of enjoyed the magic of the automated cocktail.
Wait. What home bartending machine?
So I am a Wired subscriber. I'm a big fan of Wired magazine, both for technology and they're standing up for democracy. Read it every day and love what they do. Stumbled across an article that talked about the Bartesian, a home cocktail making device similar to a Keurig coffee machine, but for cocktails. And I was like, this looks interesting, but I definitely don't need it. And so I sat on it and I sat on it and I sat on it. I'm like, you know what? I do need this. And so I dropped an order in for, there's three different levels. I got the medium level home device and I brought it and I showed it to my wife and I said, hey, we are going to enjoy some cocktails. And so just like a Keurig coffee machine, Dave, you pick your pods, you can pick your old fashioned, you can pick your hurricane, you can pick your cosmopolitan, whatever you want. You put it in the device. I've got four bottles of different liquors attached, and it'll select the necessary liquor. It tells you what glass to use, and Dave, it gives you a wonderful little cocktail all right there in front of you. To the desired strength, from mocktail to a strong drink. You just get to enjoy the magic of technology. So we had cocktails being brewed thanks to science and technology, and it was a lot of fun.
So which one was your favorite there, Andy, then?
So I can't remember the exact name, but we got several holiday cocktail mixes. So they were like
Okay.
old fashioned, but with a holiday twist, or a margarita, or not a margarita, but a martini with a holiday twist. So those were really fun. There's a little bit of ginger or pear or whatever else it might have been. So those were fun. But I've got a whole world to investigate, Dave.
Well, that's all. That does sound like a lot of fun, Andy. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. It seems like everybody had a good time. Do you have any awkward family like conversations over? Unfortunately, your Lions lost, and we can talk about that a little bit later here. But did you have any awkward thing to drown out your sorrow, or did you vent off something, like in anger because the Lions lost?
No, Dave. I mean, well, first, thanks for ruining my entire week by bringing that back up so early in the evening. But no, it was. We're going to get into football. So it was just a miserable weekend of football. Like Thanksgiving and Black Friday were just successive punches to my nuts the whole time with football. So no awkward family conversations. Family was great. Thanksgiving was great. Football was absolutely god awful from start to finish. We can talk about that, Dave. But how about you? You were on the road. How was your family's Thanksgiving?
It was quite crazy. So, like, starting Wednesday, we drove down and we did that emergency pod, which was fun to do with you, Andy. So, we did that emergency pod. We headed down to Florida, and for the most part, it was uneventful trip. It's always challenging when you get to the South Carolina border. The last 20 miles on South Carolina is like it's like you never know. And I'm constantly watching the map to see if anything has come up. Because once you get in that 20-mile window, you can't off-road. You can't take a divergent course. You're stuck. And so in this particular case, we get there and we're cruising along. It's a perfect trip. And unfortunately, like they're all of a sudden started backing up, and we're like, well, there's construction in this area, but why would they be doing construction today? Blah blah blah. It turns out on the other side of the road was a monumental crash. Now it looks like nobody
Oh,
got hurt, but like there's a bridge that goes from Georgia into South Carolina, and right at the end of that bridge, I don't know how they happened, but there was there's a truck with a trailer on it. There was a Amazon truck. There was two cars. There was a Ford truck, and then there was behind it was this big. It wasn't quite a semi truck, but it was like a dump truck style vehicle, and it just blocked everybody. And unfortunately, on the other side of the road, they couldn't get off and divert out. And so that was tough going down. But on Thanksgiving, we had a great meal. We got to see my one son and his girlfriend and spend some time watching the Macy's parade and having a fun time there. Then we had some Thanksgiving dinner, watched the Cowboys. I thought they were going to blow it all along. In fact, I did never watch the end of that game, even showing you where my head is with the Cowboys this year. And then Friday we had, a nice breakfast. My daughters and went out and went like Black Friday shopping. So I'm still recovering from that financially. So it's always fun. And then we came back up and we went to the South Carolina Clemson game on Saturday, which was ruining a weekend. That was another bad one, but
yeah.
not too bad. Fun story though. Yesterday, my son was going back out. My son and his wife were going back out to Washington, and they left 3 hours early, and they didn't get to the airport until an hour before their flight was going to go. And it was crazy. The traffic was crazy. It was the busiest travel day of the year, but it was a little wild. But all in all, a lot of fun, Andy. A lot of fun seeing everybody in the family. It was good. It was a good weekend. But now we're ready to be back to normal, I think. So.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. It's always nice to It's great to be there, and then you're glad to be on the other end of it. But it sounds like a great weekend. I can tell you, the airports were nuts. Today is my third trip to an airport in 3 days, and yesterday I drove into DC to take one of my boys in, and it was very backed up. But fortunately, it seemed like flights were moving. Thank goodness our idiot politicians were able to get government back open, so travel could go normally, even if very busily these few days. Not to mention there was some severe weather that impacted things as well. So glad everybody got out well. Glad we're back here in December. And just tell you how traumatized I am by way too many run-ins with the cops. If you're talking about those last 20 miles of South Carolina, I was like, oh yeah, looking out for cops. Can't get pulled over. Here you are talking about an accident. Thank goodness everybody was okay. So glad to hear it. Glad Thanksgiving went well. And Dave, it really is the last month of the year. We are almost out of 2025.
It seems crazy that we are. It's been such a wild year, of course,
Yeah,
Andy. And
yeah.
and, and speaking of which, we had our emergency pod on Wednesday, and speaking about Hegseth and the seditious six and everything. But a news story came out, Andy, that Hegseth has ordered in one of the strikes, I believe it was the September 2nd strike, that there were some survivors in there, and that Hegseth verbally ordered that there would be no survivors and to kill them all. It, this is starting to get a lot of play now, and the administration is doubling down on it. One, they're illegal, so we're protecting America by killing all these people, and so they're doubling down on that. And two, the president is now saying, "Oh, Pete told me he didn't do it, and so therefore I believe him," and blah blah blah. But it looks like both sides of the aisle are Now getting into this Venezuela, whatever's happening here it's getting like very, very shady on a lot of fronts, Andy.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, so many things with this. So
Yeah,
many
so many
things with this.
places to go.
So obviously, Puffer Pete has already said, oh, it's fake news, didn't happen, fake news. But the fact that every American can completely imagine Puffer Pete sitting there, arms crossed across his chest and just saying, yeah, kill them all. Like you could absolutely believe that happened. The investigations will determine whether it did or didn't, if there's enough conclusive evidence to say that it did. First or second, I guess now, Puffer Peep should never have the right to speak the words of Metallica album off his filthy lips. And so to say kill them all is disrespectful to heavy metal, to Metallica, and to music fans around the world. So that should never happen again. But beyond that, hey, this is a war crime. If this did
Yeah.
in fact happen, if there were in fact, individuals survived the initial attack and Puffer that called for their murder, right? That is a legitimate war. And so Congress, who is not like enamored with the administration officials by any means, like they're looking at this seriously. And this is going to be a serious investigation. Like the Congress is over the nonsense, this administration. They're over the bullshit. They have to survive and they have to govern. And so Republicans and Democrats both are looking at saying, we are going to conduct a real investigation into this and see what is going on. We're talking about potential war crimes conducted by the United States of America by the Secretary of Defense. Like we are in a strange, dangerous, reckless place in this country right now.
Yeah, and it was all over the talk shows, of course. And Mark Kelly, the one of the seditious six, who's been threatening to get back on court martial. Which again, Andy, our leadership, the administration doesn't even know the law, and like they don't even know what they can and cannot do. But anyways, he said, and he used one of our terms, Andy. He said this administration, they're and Pete Hegseth, they're not serious people. We've said that a lot. This is just not. They're not serious. And to show that, Hegseth posted something on one of the socials, I can assume it was Twitter, about like mocking this debate here. And like with the children's book cover that shows like blowing up a book or blowing up one of the boats. This is just not how you govern. And our the president has also come out. One of the other things that he did this weekend was uh, delivered his, happy Thanksgiving to everybody or happy holiday everybody, except for those people who I hate and who hate America and who are doing this and I love, blah blah blah. Well, he used the R word, and I don't necessarily want to say it. I don't care if we say it or not, but he used the R word to describe Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, when speaking about like Somali immigrants. Again, he's putting all these things together. But he has also doubled down on it. He goes, I'm not going to backtrack on those words and all this other stuff. It's costing him now. Again, this is not a serious administration. And I think a lot of Republicans are starting to see like I cannot go down with this fucker and this administration. They got to start looking out for themselves at this point.
Yeah, Dave. I mean, first, like it's Thanksgiving, man, right? Like, just it's like, look, Donald Trump is falling asleep in real like midday events, right? And they're saying, well, he's tired of work. Like, take Grandpa's phone away after 9 o'clock. Don't let him stay up all night shit posting and eating Big Macs and fish fillets. Like, put him to bed so he can do his fucking job. And say he's up shit posting. It's Thanksgiving. Like, just give thanks and shut up and do whatever you're going to do with your family. Instead, he goes on these nonsense rants and raves that have just no place in civil society from the president of the United States. And so people are like, yeah, they're not on board with it. They're not on board. And so, yeah, this administration, whether it's the president, whether it's Pete, whether it's Christie, whether it's Tulsi, or whether it's Kennedy, they double down, they triple down, they never make mistakes, and they shitpost. And that's fun and entertaining for 20-year-old males. And that's fun and entertaining for the 20% of your hardcore base. But everybody else is looking at this and saying, what the fuck is happening in Washington? DC. Who is running this country? And people are literally cringing and turning away. The poll numbers with independents are unbelievably low. The ass spanking that is coming to the Republican Party, if they stay clung on to this president, is going to be absolutely humiliating in this coming year, which is fast approaching. So he can go on and mock like like the rule of law, right? The president can go on and mock humans and people and immigrants and treat people like shit. It's coming to a head. People are done with it. Americans are done with it. It's embarrassing. It's potentially criminal. And it's coming to an end because America is so over this embarrassing, ignorant, selfish administration.
Yeah, it's really bad, and this is not even the as our alarm goes off, but thankfully we got to end this segment. But this is not even like talking about Christy Nome saying that she continued to she violated a judge's orders because he was a radical leftist activist judge, and
Yeah,
so like wait a second, I don't think you get to decide what laws you're gonna uh, you know, follow or not. There's punishment for that, and she was just clear as that as well. So this they're playing the hits, man. I tell you, they're playing the hits. All we're missing is JD Vance. Oh wait, he got up in front of everybody and like fucking like was an embarrassment talking to soldiers. About Thanksgiving, it just this they're playing the hits. They're playing the hits. So
can we just go on record? Look, I know I've made some bad football predictions. You know, I know my start of season calls aren't going exactly as planned, but I am more than willing to go on record and just reassure America and JD Vance, unless President Trump passes away from natural causes while serving in office, JD Vance will never be elected to be president of the United States of America. He has embarrassed himself and lost so much of whatever support he might have had for the way that he got into the Senate. That guy is just embarrassing himself left and right. And I'm just waiting to see when he joins the bandwagon with some of his favorite tech bros and wants to start going after the Pope, Dave, because that's one of the new targets is the Pope. So JD has no political future, at least not elected office. He might be a great podcast host or ship poster, but that guy, I mean, him and Christie and Pete, this assembly of the fucking Legion of Doom, you know, Solomon Grundy and the rest of them, it's just embarrassing. It is unbelievable this is who is governing this country today. Christie's comments were also criminal and unbelievable to come out of her mouth.
yeah, it's quite unbelievable is correct there. So, all right, Andy, we'll get to this last segment here today, and whoo, what a sports weekend it was. I mean, beginning with our football games on Thursday, then we had Black Friday. You already mentioned your heartbreak on it. And then we have the crazy games yesterday, but then we also had a crazy college football story. So, Andy, let's start with like crazy statements. The Bears are the number one seed in the NFC. How freaking crazy is that?
It is crazy, Dave. Look, I will say this: the Bears played good football. Like I have not sat there and watched an entire Bears game, and like I was miserable after the Lions loss, after the Cowboys win. To see the Eagles go down to the Bears was devastating on multiple levels. One, I wanted the Eagles to win. Two, I really couldn't afford a Bears win. But I'm going to give them credit. They played a really good football game. Now, they're not the best team in the NFC. They're not going to, you know, their record is a little deceiving, but they are playing good football. They have really made a vast improvement this season, and they got to show that on the national stage on Black Friday. And good for them. And to be the one seed right now as the Rams took an unexpected loss. Like, hey, if the road to the Super Bowl for the NFC goes to Chicago, that would be pretty cool, even though I hate the Bears. So good for them. Good for them, man. I hope the Lions punch them in the face when they get a rematch, but good for them.
Yeah, it's crazy. A lot of craziness, and you had the Broncos last night in overtime against the Commanders, who are depleted in at the quarterback position. They won in overtime. You mentioned the Rams yesterday. they lost in Carolina to Carolina. Carolina plays one really they have beat the Packers, they've now beaten the Rams, and then they'll lose some stupid game or look awful against the 49ers. This is a tough team. I don't know if they scare anybody in the playoffs, but they're building something here in Carolina. They're 7-6 and they played two of their last four games or two of their last five four games against the Buccaneers. That'll be the battle for the NFC North position. I'm definitely not on my bingo card of who would have been there, but yeah, the Steelers fading away. The Ravens looked awful on Thursday night as well. This is the last couple weeks of the season now. We're in go time, and every game. Not that it doesn't matter before, but every game takes higher importance, and this is just going to be interesting. The Ravens are 6-6, and they look awful. Could they be 8-9 and make the playoff and make and win their division? It's possible because the Steelers stink too, Andy.
They have a lot of teams stink. I mean, I don't think the NFL has ever been this wide open. I mean, look, the Eagles lost at home to the Bears. The Chiefs lost to the Cowboys. The NFL is wide open. Anybody could go on a hot run in the playoffs and become the next Super Bowl champions, to include the rebuilding and surging Carolina Panthers. Them being even above 500
I
was
know.
not anything I expected. And so, I mean, the fact that they are legitimately in contention for the NFC South, maybe the worst division in football, that's the AFC South, but still potentially winning the division, potentially hosting a home playoff game is great to see. I mean, we've got some coaches that are leading some legitimate turnarounds. We're seeing some players like Bryce Young that you're grateful to see them get some wins, because it's been so hard for them. It is a fun time in the playoffs. Look, the Detroit Lions are in playoff mode right now. The Lions are on the outside of the playoffs looking in. They've got big games coming up on Thursday against the Cowboys. They've got a matchup against the Rams and their own quarterback, Matt Stafford. They've got some division matchups, and they are in must-win mode. If they take another loss, their playoff hopes might be done. It is very difficult NFC North. So it is a super exciting time for football. And Dave, I love it because anybody could win the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, it's gonna be it's quite interesting. We haven't even talked it like just like um the Bears being unlikely to be number one seed. The Patriots are still the number one seed there in the AFC. So this has just been a crazy year. But again, crazier things have happened in the NFL. I just love the parity, and you get a lot of things like this happening year over year. That's why people love it because if you're a Carolina fan. You had 6 wins over the previous 2 years. You thought your number one draft pick that you traded the farm for was going to be a bust. And here they are, 7-6, and they look like a competent organization playing the Los Angeles Rams, who we all thought were great. And then on the flip side, you have the Eagles, who are in really bad shape right now, really looking to they're struggling here. So it's definitely shaping up for a wild finish in the NFL as always. But Andy, I want to turn now to the college game, and we talked a lot about college football and the coachings, and I talked about Penn State, who miraculously, Andy, they started off 3-0, lost six straight, then they won their last three games. They're going to go to a bowl game. It's all things considering, it was a disappointing year, but I'm proud of the way they finished off. They'll go to a bowl game and it won't really matter because it's not the playoff. But the big story yesterday, Andy, was Ole Miss, where my daughter goes. They're 11-1. They have a really controversial coach in Lane Kiffin, who over the years has made some just really crazy decisions. He's rehabilitated his image, and at 6 years at Ole Miss, he's won more games than anybody else had done in that 6 year period at that school. He's been a very successful coach, and he left to go to Louisiana State, LSU, which is by far a better program. It's in a better place. But it still comes up as college coach who had built a very successful and in a power conference, one of the best conferences in football, and he left to go to a team in his conference. Now, the big story was he threatened to want to, like, if he didn't get to coach the team in the play, he wanted to coach the team in the playoff. And Old Miss was like, fuck no, we're not letting you coach. You got to get out of here. So then he delivered an ultimatum to his coaching staff that you're either with him or against them, kind of thing. And some could go, some left, and some stayed at Old Miss. But this is just a nasty situation. And now Lane Kiffin, who did so much rehabilitation, is back in the doghouse again, Andy. So.
Yeah, Dave, the brand was image and sort of self-importance that some football coaches take on is really remarkable. They get treated like such royalty at these schools when they do well, and in the NFL, right? I mean, a successful coach is treated just like such a prized possession. Some of these guys really start to believe that they're shitting gold bricks when they go to the bathroom, and it's just really sad to see that kind of arrogance on display. So, I love seeing these guys get hit in the nuts and eat a little bit of humble pie. And it always comes, Dave. It always comes, right? I mean, even the legend Bill Belichick has eaten his fair share of humble pie since the heydays of the New England Patriots. There's just a reality that these guys seem to get disconnected from. They start to really believe that they're something far greater than they are. And so to give that with me or against me speech, like simmer down, the man. Like this isn't an epic battle for a spiritual warfare. Like just simmer down a little bit, have a little humility, and just be grateful that you're having a chance to go coach a program you want to coach.
Yep, yep. So all interesting times. And so now we have the college football playoff getting ready to take off. We have conference championship games this weekend, and then we have the college football playoff after that. It's going to be exciting times in the world of football. So all right, Andy. Well, again, your commitment to this podcast is unmatched. I really appreciate you jumping on as you drive through, and you didn't get in a car accident, Andy. Pretty good job there. So.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, respectable driving skills.
Yeah, I'm sure Mama Jabor is not going to be pleased with you and will give you some sort of lecture for doing this on while you're driving. But Andy, it's great to hear you. Good to catch up with you. We'll talk with you on Wednesday.